Welcome to the JD Power AI and Insurance podcast, where we explore how AI is transforming the insurance industry from the inside out. I'm your host, Michael Vermillion with JD Power, and today we're diving into the real world experience of adopting AI inside a client focused insurance brokerage. Our guest today is Eric Himmelberg, Director of Information Technology at UNICO Group, a firm known for putting customer relationships at the heart of everything they do. We'll hear how they've embraced AI to enhance service, support brokers, and stay ahead of changing expectations. So whether you're a broker, carrier, or tech innovator, this conversation is full of lessons you can use. Let's jump in. Eric, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Michael.
Why don't we start just by giving our listeners a sense about UNICO Group? Can you tell us a bit about your brokerage, who you serve, what sets you apart, and what your role is there?
Yeah, so UNICO Group is a top 100 independent insurance brokerage based out of Lincoln, Nebraska. We service clients all across the U.S., primarily in the Midwest, but we provide employee benefits, property and casualty, and commercial and personal lines insurance for our clients.
Okay, and UNICO has really built a reputation as a very client-focused brokerage. How does that philosophy influence your approach to innovation and technology in general?
Yeah, so at UNICO Group, one of our taglines is where connections make a difference. And so what that means to us is really that we like to build deep, lasting relationships with our clients. And so as we think about how we're going to implement technology and specifically AI in our insurance brokerage, we really look for use cases that are going to help us strengthen those relationships. We're not necessarily looking to be a digital first brokerage. We're more of a human first brokerage. So a lot of the AI use cases that we're exploring today are not about necessarily replacing the human experience, but giving our associates superhuman powers, I like to say, to help them better serve our clients and deepen those relationships.
So when AI first started looking to be potentially relevant to the business, and you're looking at these kind of initial use cases, was there any initial skepticism or resistance internally, and how did you navigate that?
I think the initial skepticism that we faced was really around trust. If we're relying on AI to take over a portion of our work, whether it's analyzing documents or providing answers out of those documents, can we really trust the output? And so what we've looked to be able to increase our trust in AI is really looking towards solutions that not only provide those answers, but provide the what do I want to say? Show their work, essentially to be able to quickly verify that the answer that was provided is the correct answer in an insurance context.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Wondering if you could just walk us through one or two kind of specific examples of where AI is making a measurable difference in the business.
So two of the use cases that we're working on right now or that we've implemented in our agency, the first was around loss runs from carriers. So if you're unfamiliar with a loss run, essentially that's a history of claims for a client. And so previous to implementing AI as part of this process, if we were remarketing a risk for a client, or we were just merely having a quarterly conversation with that client and reviewing their loss run history, typically what occurred in that situation was a member of our claims processing team had to go out to the carrier, retrieve those loss runs, and then every carrier's loss run format is different. It's all provided in different document formats. So what they would then have to do is analyze those loss runs, manually transfer that data over into a standardized template that we had for our agency, in order to be able to present that to the client. So one of the pieces of AI that we've implemented takes that process and analyzes those loss runs for us and puts all of that structured data or all of that unstructured data from the loss runs into a structured data set, so that regardless of carrier or format of loss run, we can quickly get that structured data into our templated format and drastically reduce the amount of time that it takes us to put those loss run summaries together for our clients. And so what that has allowed us to do is to do that type of analysis for more clients more quickly. The second use case that we've implemented AI quite successfully is on our personal lines team. And there we implemented a piece of technology that is able to read and analyze documents of a variety of different formats, whether it's a spreadsheet or a PDF file or a Word document or even an image. It's able to extract relevant data out of all of those documents and build a client profile that then we can translate over to our carrier portal partners that we're working with. And as we're going out to those carrier partner portals and submitting information for an insurance application, it will quickly fill in all of the relevant data into all the appropriate fields so that we can very quickly obtain a bindable quote back from that carrier. And so that's really helped our personal lines team accelerate the new business and remarketing application process for our clients. We had one use case where a member of our personal lines team had taken a call from a new prospect that was interested in obtaining insurance, and using this tool, they were able to, on the call, obtain quotes from 2 or 3 different carriers without the client having to give us that information, and then we take it out and call them back. Usually that process is about a 45-minute to 1 hour process, and in a matter of about 15 minutes, we were able to present the client with about 3 different bindable quotes that they were ultimately able to make a decision on that same call.
Those are both great examples, Eric. So just thinking about this from the perspective of your clients, how are they reacting to these kind of AI powered tools or experiences? I think we talked about the loss runs as the first use case. Do they notice a difference?
So, I would hope that the only difference that they notice is really that we're able to provide that analysis faster for them. Really, the template that the tool is able to fill in for us with that structured data looks no different really than the template that we were using previously on a manual basis. The difference there being that we're doing it much faster and being more responsive to that client's request. So in the use cases that we've undertaken so far with AI, none of them have really been client facing where the client would actually be interacting with the AI tool. In our use cases so far, we've always had a human at UNICO Group in the middle there, extracting getting the value out of the AI tool, and then using that to enhance their presentation back to the client.
So keeping the human in the loop, so to speak. What about for your team? What's changed for your team? You talked about the personal lines team use case. Is that freeing them up to do other things, or are they looking for other potential uses of AI to help them do their job better or faster?
Yes, yeah, it's really has freed up quite a bit of their time during that new business and remarketing process. It used to be a task that wasn't always looked forward to every day, depending on what kind of a workload they had, and now they're able to process through those tasks much more efficiently, freeing up their time to be able to spend more of that time with their client, going over in more detail the proposals that we're able to present to them and help them make the best decision for their insurance coverage. As we mature in our use of AI, we're also looking at different ways that we can use AI to analyze documents such as policies received from carriers so that we can pull out specific coverage details and check those against standards of coverage that we have for our agency to make sure that we're doing our absolute best in making sure that our clients' risks are appropriately covered.
Okay, great. So just switching gears a bit, I want to talk a bit about lessons learned. So kind of looking back on your journey so far with AI, were there any big surprises, good or bad, about adopting AI in the business?
I think for me, the biggest surprise thus far has been really how far we've come and how well defined the use cases have become for AI in insurance in just the short time span that we've had large language model AI. AI is nothing new. We think AI really started in 2022 with the announcement or the release to the general public of ChatGPT, but really AI existed long before that as predictive modeling and more in a data analysis capacity, right? But specific to insurance and where we're seeing a large benefit in brokerages today is in the use and leverage of those large language model AIs. And uh, what we've seen is the ability of the startup companies that we're working with to take that large language model and make it very easy and digestible for an insurance professional who may not be a prompt engineer to be able to use and use quickly and efficiently to get the output that they're looking for. So when we're looking at implementing AI in our agency, it's very daunting for somebody who's a longtime insurance professional to be just presented with an open chat prompt and you can ask anything, but how do I ask the right questions to get the answers that I'm looking for? And so a lot of the startups that we're working with today make that very easy by presenting the user a user interface with predefined workflows that take care of all of that prompting in the background to make sure that the model is delivering the intended result for that particular workflow. So that's made it a lot easier for our team to adopt.
Yeah, so you're not just logging on and staring at a blank screen. You've got some direction in terms of where to go with it. So, what just in terms of advice, what advice would you give to other brokerages who are just maybe starting out on their AI journey? Are there any pitfalls to avoid or any kind of mind shift sets to embrace?
You know what I would encourage folks to do is really start with a good solid use case and keep it simple. Um, if you're speaking with your folks at the desk, what do they have? What part of their job today are they doing that takes them an inordinate amount of time to do, and it's something that they don't really enjoy doing? Those, to me, I think are the best use cases to insert AI into. And so, what we're doing at UNICO Group is looking at AI that can help us with document processing tasks, such as generating summaries of coverage, generating proposals based off of quotes received back from carriers, being able to check policies to make sure that they meet coverage standards and that everything that we asked for within a quote or a bind order has been included in that policy. And then also in analyzing contracts. One large segment of client that we work with is in the construction industry, and construction subcontractors are constantly being asked to sign contracts and have appropriate insurance coverages associated with those contracts. So the use cases that we're looking into now are how we can use AI to analyze those contracts to see what coverages must this client have in order to meet the requirements of the contract, and then comparing that to the client's in-force policies to see if they have adequate coverage or if any areas are deficient and we need to work with our carrier partners to get that client the appropriate coverage.
So, Eric, you're also involved with something called Broker Tech Ventures, which our understanding is they play a big role in shaping insurtech innovation. So, just what excites you the most about startups and the technologies that you're seeing through your involvement with broker tech?
Yeah, it's one of the highlights of my year. Actually, we just came back from a conference called BTV Mania, which is the culmination every year of Broker Tech Ventures cohort system. So every year in January we start a new cohort, which we go through a vetting process, an application and a vetting process with insure tech startups across the ecosystem, whether they be broker focused, carrier focused, MGA focused. And through that vetting process, we distilled down the number of startups that are going to make the year's cohort to about 9 to 12 different startups. And then in April of every year, the process really culminates, that selection process really culminates in BTV Mania, which is an in-person event held in Des Moines every year, where all of the partners in Broker Tech Ventures, the carrier partners, the agency partners, and the MGA partners, are all in the same space with the startups of that year's cohort, and able to really have a series of meetings with each startup where they're able to dive deep into the solutions that these startups are providing, and get a good sense of if it's a fit for their company, and something that they'd like to, technology that they would like to implement with their company. So
That's really
it,
cool. So how has being part of that community influenced the way you and UNICO Group are thinking about innovation or partnerships with tech companies?
yeah, so I would say it biases us. It gives us a bias towards working with startups in the insure tech space versus maybe more established players in the technology space that may not be specific to the insurance industry. They may be a more generalized solution. And the reason why it gives us that bias is because the interactions that we've had with these startups have been invaluable, and it takes it from not just a vendor relationship, but really to a true partnership relationship with the technology companies that we're working with, because the value that the startup is providing to us is a technology solution that solves a real business need that we have. But then the value that we're able to provide back to that startup is a rapid feedback model where we're able to work with their product and give them feedback on a regular basis to improve that product so that it can be more generally adopted within the insurance industry. And what we found, that the output of that model, that business model of working with these startup technology companies, is that number one, we get a very bespoke product to solutions specific to the insurance industry. And number two, it's very tailored to not just the way that the insurance industry does business, but also to the way our agency does business. So we see tighter integrations with the other potential systems and applications that we're working with at our agency, and greater integration and adoption into our workflows, because it's really tailored to fit our workflows at our agency.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So just to wrap up, Eric, what's next on your AI roadmap? Are there any areas you're particularly excited to explore next?
Yeah, so in 2025 here, we really have a heavy focus on document processing. I mentioned several of the use cases, and we just signed a pilot agreement a couple weeks ago with another startup that's going to help us out with the policy processing and contract processing that we talked about. So the remainder of 2025 is really going to be spent on those use cases. As I look forward to 2026, what I'm more excited to explore at that point then is how we can implement agentic AI into our agency workflows. So not just, and where I think that differs is not just automating or applying technology to one specific piece of the workflow, but with agentic AI, how can we use technology to automate an entire workflow? Maybe it's a workflow that we have a business process outsourcing partner working on currently for us, or maybe it's a process that we have a non-credentialed or a non-accredited employee or associate at our agency working on. And how can we automate those workflows to free those resources up to do higher level tasks that we can then take away from maybe some of our accredited or licensed associates, pass those lower value tasks down to somebody else, and free them up again to have more time with our clients to build those deep connections.
Well, Eric, that's super exciting. We'll have to have you back on the AI and insurance podcast once you get some of this agentic solutions in place. So, well, that's a wrap on today's conversation. A big thank you to Eric Himmelberg from UNICO Group for sharing such practical insights on the realities of adopting AI and for reminding us that even the most advanced technology should serve the client relationship, not replace it. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're curious about the innovation happening at the intersection of insurance and technology, keep an eye on Broker Tech Ventures. There's a lot more to come. Thanks for listening to the JD Power AI and Insurance podcast. I'm Michael Vermillion, and we'll see you next time.